I I went in. I got when I got the draft notice and stuff. I went in. I got the notice in December, right before Christmas, and I had to go on the 4th of January. And from Rapid City, I went to Fort Riley, Kansas, to where I took basic training, and that lasted for 6 weeks. And then that's when they divided up all of the men to go to different bases, and I was sent to Fort Bliss, Texas, and that's down at El Paso. And some of my other Army buddies went to Fort Lewis, Washington, in Washington State. So then my second 6 weeks of basic training was in Fort Bliss, Texas, and that was in a howitzer outfit with artillery. It was an artillery outfit, but they were 105s and 155 howitzers. The 105s were the kind of small ones that you could take apart. You could take the barrel off of them and the wheels off of them, and you could put them on a packed mule, and you could take them up into the mountains where you were firing. The 155s were bigger guns, and they would shoot at a distance of 7 miles at that time. So we were trained in that, but I ended up in the supply section where I was handling the supplies that they needed. I had a truck issued to me, and I would take care of anything that the men had to have. Then, after being down there, I got a notice in October of that year that I was being sent to Germany. They picked two of us out of the outfit in the supply section that were headed to Germany, and they sent us home for a couple of weeks leave. And then the other boy was from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I flew to Minneapolis, and he picked me up at the airport. We stayed overnight at his house, and then the next day we got on the airplane to Fort Dix, New Jersey. We flew into LaGuardia Field and caught a small bus to Fort Dix was in New Jersey, and that's where they did all of you were there for almost a week while they gave you all the vaccinations for overseas. I don't know what all they did. And while I was there at Fort Dix, you could get on an elevated train. Several of us guys would go together, and we went into New York City 2 different times, walking around just to see the sights and to locate different things in New York City. Then, when that was over, we boarded ship out of the Brooklyn Naval Yard out of New York City. Got on a ship. It took 13 days to get over there. Everybody got sick, including me, on the ship, and the seas were rough. And we come to the White Cliffs of Dover in the English Channel, and there the ship came to a stop, and a pilot boat came alongside, and a pilot got on the ship, and he guided the ship through the channel. And then we landed at Bremerhaven, Germany, and that's where they unloaded us, and onto a train, and we went over to Zimmer, Germany, where they divided us all up again. My Army buddy that I went over with, he got sent to a different base than I did, and I ended up with 7 other guys that I didn't know that were all coming into the outfit that I ended up in. It was an ordnance outfit that trucked Army tanks around Germany. If one broke down, we would go get it, or the outfit that I was in would go get it. I ended up in the supply section, so there I was handling tires and spark plugs and carburetors and winches and paint and whatever else you needed. I'd order that and in stock and issue that as the men needed it. But then the crew would go out when the tank broke down. They'd bring it in for repairs. We didn't repair it, but we dropped it off at another outfit. And then they would take another tank back out to that outfit. The Cold hadn't put up the wall yet, but they put up a barbed wire fence, and they would shoot anybody trying to get out of East Germany into West Germany. And there was a guard tower about every half or 3/4 of a mile apart. You could see one tower from the other, so that anybody trying to sneak through between the towers, the guard towers could see them, and then they would shoot to kill them. And the fence was electrified on top of that, so you had to be careful. Anybody that tried to, you couldn't climb over it because you'd electrocute yourself. But people were trying to dig underneath it to get into West Germany, and those were the ones that was always getting shot all the time. So then I was over there all that summer, and we would go out once a month. You had to go out into the forest with all of your trucks and equipment, just like that the Russians were going to attack us. You loaded up everything that you owned, and I had 2 trucks assigned to me. I took one, and I had another assistant that drove the other one, and they were loaded with parts and stuff. And you went out into the woods a long ways out, and you camped there overnight, sometimes for a couple days and nights. They called them alerts all the time. When they whistle the siren would blow, then everybody had to leave the camp. On our camp, there was a helicopter outfit, and then there was an armored outfit that had small armored track-driven vehicles, not as big as a tank, but about half as big. And then there was a WAC outfit. That was Army women that joined the Army as secretaries and stuff. They were on that base. Our base wasn't a great big base at all. There was only about maybe 150 to 200 men in the outfit that I was in. And the helicopter outfit was even less than that. So then when we would go out into the forest and stuff like that, you would camp there day and night. Then you'd come back in and you had to clean all of your equipment up and get it all cleaned up again. Everything got dirty out in the forest. And you did that once a month. That's when you never knew when it was going to come. You could be out doing anything, and all of a sudden here come the alert, and you just dropped everything you were doing, and you loaded up whatever you owned, and you put all your clothing in a duffel bag, and you got your rifle and your weapons, and away you went. I lived in a 5-man squad room on the second floor. The first floor was offices. The second floor was smaller squad rooms, and then the third floor was the big barracks where there would be 18 or 20 men in one great big room with one bunk after the other. So I had it pretty nice being in a 5-man squad room because it was a lot more quieter. And there were 5 men in my squad room when I got over there. One man was coming back to the United States, and I took his place, and I had his corner bunk, which was kind of nice because I was right by the windows. In the summertime, you could open the windows, and it was pretty nice over there then. So then in the fall of the year, before I was getting ready to come home, I asked to go on leave, and I had about a 10-day leave, and I took a couple other guys with me that had got 10 days off, and we went on them free airplanes, that military air transport, they called them, and you could catch these hops. If the plane was going where you wanted to go and it had room, you could get on it. And there wasn't any seats on it. You sat in the cargo hold along with boxes and parachutes and everything else they had back there. So I got to go to Salzburg, Austria, Munich, Germany. I went over to Rome, saw the Vatican, hung around Rome, saw the Fountain of Trevi, where you threw coins over your shoulder and made a wish. And I saw Naples, Italy. I got on the train over to Naples. Then we caught an airplane ride over to London, England. Stayed out in the country on a bed and breakfast home right across the road from where Winston Churchill had his summer home. We never did see Winston Churchill, but we made it to number 10 Downing Street, and that's where all of the prime ministers hang out at number 10 Downing Street. You can still see that yet today. That's still their headquarters, I guess. And we saw the changing of the guard. Ride back to a little town in the middle of, I believe it was spelled Toule. And it was just a little airport. It was no bigger than Spearfish Airport. And the plane landed there, and that was the end of it. And then you had to wait and catch a train that was going into Paris. So we had to hang around there for a half a day till the train came. And we went into Paris. We got to see the Eiffel Tower, walked around Paris and stuff. We were already broke by then, so we were knowing we were going to have to head back to our base. So we didn't spend that much time in Paris, maybe a afternoon and evening. And then we went out to the airport, and that was called Orly Field, Orly. It's still there yet today. And we went in there. You came in, and they had a whole mess of books on the counter. You signed your name where you needed to go, because the airplanes were taking off and going in all different directions. They take you back to London from right out of Chicago, and he was the one that got to get on the airplane and go. So he gave us whatever money he had left over, so we could buy a train ticket. So then we looked at the train schedule, and there was one headed back to Germany, and we thought it was going to get us all the way back to where we needed to go. So each one of us bought a ticket, got on the train, and you had a little room on the train where you just got in there, you shut the sliding door, and you just fell asleep in the seats. You didn't have any bunk or anything like that, but you could sleep in the seats. And this is already getting dark, nighttime. So we showed them our tickets, got on the train, and headed out. And then during the night, all of a sudden I woke up and the train isn't moving anymore. And I'm looking out the window and stuff like that, and all of a sudden there's a knock on the door, and here's the conductor. And he wanted to see our tickets. And we're right at the line. We weren't into Germany yet, but we were right in where the countries come together. And he said, "Your tickets are done. This is as far as you go. You paid to go." Well, we told him where we needed to go, and we traded him a camera, and Burns had a whole carton of cigarettes. Him and Smaganoff smoked cigarettes a lot, and they had these whole cartons. So we gave him a whole carton of cigarettes and a camera, and he let us stay on the train then to head on into Germany. So then the train takes off again during the night, and about 6 o'clock in the morning at daylight, the train comes to a complete stop. All the doors open up, everybody's getting off the train, and we found out that was the end of the line with the train. It didn't go any farther. It turned around and went back over toward France. So we got out with everybody else, and nobody spoke English, so you couldn't find out what was going on. But there was a little railroad station there. It wasn't open up yet. It was too early in the morning, but there was a schedule on the wall out there. And it sounded like another train would be coming through in about an hour and a half or 2 hours, headed in the direction we needed to go. But we no longer had any more money. We were completely broke by then. So we waited, and here come the train a couple hours later, and people were getting on it, so we got on it too, on the very last car of the train. And when we seen the conductor coming checking tickets, we picked up our suitcase, and we'd go stand out on the very end of the train on the little platform, hoping that he didn't come out there to take a look around or to have a cigarette or something to smoke. And he didn't. He would come down the line, and nobody turned us in. I mean, them other German people saw us pick up our bags and go out